Good morning, Hope Fiends. Today I'm going to read to you a little bit about, or a little bit out of Living Sober. I'm not going to read all of it, I'm just going to read a few pages. I'm going to start with staying away from the first drink or drug. Expressions commonly heard in AA and NA are if you don't take that first drink or drug, you won't get drunk or high. And we've all heard one's too many, a thousand's never enough. Many of us, when we first began to use, never wanted or took more than a few, drinks or drugs. We just did it socially. But as time went on, we increased the number. Then later years, we found ourselves drinking and using more and more. Some of us getting and staying fucked up. Maybe our condition didn't always show in our speech or our gait, but by this time, we were never actually sober. If that bothered us too much, we would cut down or try to limit ourselves to just one or two, or switch from this to that, hard liquor to beer, wine. I'm sure we've all tried the different approaches. Well, I have a problem with this, so maybe if I use this, well, I know I've done that myself personally, and I found that when I tried to control my using and drinking, I never had fun. And then when I didn't control my using or drinking, I was a fucking madman and I was out of control. So there was never a good time when I was drinking and using. It was always either one or the other. I was either not happy because I hadn't used or drunk enough, or I was so fucked up that I was blacked out and doing dumbass shit. So there's no happy medium when it comes to that for people like us. For me, anyway, I can't speak for everybody else, but if you're like me, then it's probably pretty close to the same. Um, where was I? Okay, but all these measures got more and more difficult. Occasionally, we even went on the wagon and did not use or drink for a while, which was very rare actually for me. Um, event, but eventually we would go back to using. It's only a matter of time. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. Um, just one drink or drug, and then it's off to the races. That's how it is for me. And since maybe that was all it took on that one occasion, and it was a great relief to find that we could take just one or two, then stop. Some of us did that many times. Yeah, we might have done it many times, but like I said, if you're controlling your drinking or using, if you're like me, then you weren't having any fun in that. Um, but the experience proved to be a snare. It persuaded us that we could drink or use safely. And there would come an occasion, some special celebration, a personal loss, or no particular event at all. Your eyes could just be open. When two or three made us feel fine, so we thought maybe one or two more couldn't hurt. And then, with absolutely no intention of doing so, we found ourselves again drinking or using too much. We were right back where we had been. Over drinking, over using without really wanting to. See, that's a big misconception with non addicts is they think that we have no willpower or we lack moral fiber or something like that. It has nothing to do with that. I literally have no control. Once I put a substance in my body, I am at the mercy of the substance. Because once the substance is in my body, that starts the obsession. The obsession is going to drive you crazy until you act upon it. And the only way to act upon it is using. And then once you're done using, then you feel ashamed and guilty. It's a vicious cycle. It's a horrible way to live. And I count my blessings daily that I don't have to live that way anymore. And I say daily because I'm not promised tomorrow, and yesterday's already gone, so that means nothing. So I only have to stay sober for today, 24 hours at a time. Someone asked me once, what does that even mean? What does, one day at a time mean? And to me, that means that just what I just said. Don't worry about yesterday. It's done and over with. There's nothing you can do about it. And tomorrow, you could die in your sleep. You might not even wake up tomorrow. God forbid that happens, but it could happen. I mean, we're not promised anything. So, and when you try to think, oh, I'll never be able to drink or use again, that seems impossible. It seems like it is. I mean, when I first got sober, I thought, oh my God, the idea of never drinking or using again. What am I going to do? I'm not going to have any fun. No one's going to want to hang out with me. I had no idea that there was a life outside of drinking and using. And the funny thing is I realized once I stopped that the friends I had made when using weren't really my friends at all. All they were acquaintances, hookups, or people that I could get in some way something from them. I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, drug addicts and alcoholics use people, and we may not, we may not intentionally do it, but a lot of us know exactly what we're doing. Um, Such repeated experience have forced us to this, logically, inescapable conclusion. If we do not take the first drink or drug, we never get fucked up. Therefore, instead of planning never to get drunk or high again, or trying to limit the number of drinks or drugs you do, we have learned to concentrate on avoiding only the first one. The first one, that's all it takes. If you don't take the first one, then you don't have to worry about the second, third, fourth, and so on down the line. Instead of trying to figure out how many we can handle, 4, 6, a dozen, we remember just don't pick up that first one. It is so much simpler. The habit of thinking this way has helped hundreds of thousands of us stay sober for years. Doctors who are experts on addiction tell us that there is a sound medical foundation for avoiding the first, drink or drug. It is the first drink or drug which triggers immediately or sometime later the compulsion to drink or use more and more we until we're in trouble again. Many of us have come to believe that our addiction is um it actually says our alcoholism and addiction to the drug alcohol. Well, like alcohol is a drug like any other, so addiction essentially. Like addicts of any sort who want to maintain recovery, we have to keep away from the first dose of that drug we have become addicted to. Our experience seems to prove this. As you can read in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, and in our Grapevine magazine, and as you can hear wherever AA and NA members get together and share their experience. Okay, and the next part is using the 24-hour plan. Now this is something I still utilize to this day. Even after 10 months of sobriety, sometimes 24 hours at a time is the way I gotta take it. In our using days, we often had such bad times that we swore never again. Oh, I couldn't tell you the amount of times that I've promised myself that, other people that, family members, loved ones, friends, and I always reneged on that. I always went back because I didn't want to be in my own head. The drinking and drugs weren't the problem. The problem was me. I've been sober for 10 months, and I know that I've been away for a while, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about that. I started isolating myself. I stopped going to meetings. I started getting complacent, and then the crazy thoughts came back. I was literally a step away from using again, and I knew that I'd better get out and do something. It's hard to it's not impossible, but it's hard when you're dealing with mental issues and addiction. It's tough, but it's not impossible. If you work the steps and you stay honest, open-minded, and willing to do what other people suggest, then chances are you have a good chance of success. But you got to stick with it. You can't just half measures avail us nothing. I mean, if that says it all right there. Half measures avail us nothing. And that was me. I always tried to half-ass it. I always tried to find the easier, softer way. And there isn't an easier, softer way. I have lost the liberty to use recreationally. I don't think drugs or alcohol are bad necessarily per se, but I myself have lost the ability to use. I got that right taken away from me a long time ago. If I can't do it responsibly, I don't get to do it at all. That's just the way it works. Um, we were absolutely sincere when we voiced these declarations, and absolutely we were sincere because the shame and the fear and the guilt. We absolutely meant it, but that doesn't mean nothing. We would. I mean, how do I put this? It's hard to remember with sufficient force how you felt before, especially if you've got a few 24 hours under your belt. I've heard a saying before that it's hard to remember what it's like to sleep in the gutter after you've been sleeping under silk sheets for a while, and that makes perfect sense. That's why going to meetings is so important. Staying focused on recovery is so important because our disease is it's a sneaky son of a bitch. It'll wait until you're at your lowest point and it'll fucking pounce. And I know it sounds like I'm talking crazy, like addiction is some outside entity that has nothing to do with you. But if you're an addict, you understand what I'm talking about. I mean, it's not like drug addicts and alcoholics wake up in the morning and think, how can I alienate everybody I love and put walls up around me and fucking burn every bridge I've ever had? We don't want to do that. Addiction makes you do things that you normally wouldn't do. It's not who you are. The drugs and alcohol make you that person. And I know that people aren't going to understand that, and it's going to take a lot of time to gain their trust back. But it is not impossible to do. The reason I talk so much about action is because words are cheap. Anybody can talk, but it's showing them that you're doing keeping promises. It starts out small, and it takes time, but slowly but surely you will gain the trust of your loved ones back. Um, so we were determined. We swore off drinking and using altogether, intending to stay off alcohol and drugs, well, into some indefinite future. Yet, in spite of our intentions, the outcome was almost inevitably the same. Eventually, the memory of the vows and of the suffering that led to them faded. We drank and used again, and we wound up in more trouble. Our drive forever had not lasted very long. And that's why I say we can only do this 24 hours at a time. If it is scary to think, oh my goodness, I'll never get to use again. I mean, that's, you don't know, if that's been your whole life, it's a very scary prospect to think, well, what am I going to do? Who are my friends going to be? What are my hobbies going to be? Which is weird considering when you're drinking and using, that is your hobby, and you don't care about things you used to be interested in. But I mean, you still have them thoughts because addicts, we're creatures of habit. I mean, no pun intended. But we're creatures of habit. We don't like the unknown. It's scary to us. The devil we know is sometimes better than the devil we don't know. Yeah, we're miserable and dope sick and hungover and we feel like shit, but we understand that. We know what to expect. But being sober and having to deal with emotions, that's a whole nother ballgame. Learning how to deal with emotions when I first got I'm still thrown off sometimes. Like I'll be watching a commercial and I'll just break down in tears and you would think that would upset me, but it doesn't upset me. I'm happy that I can feel again. When you have been dead inside for years and years, because that's what drugs and alcohol do to you, especially opiates and alcohol. They make you dead inside, and the feelings you do have are over exaggerated. You feel sorry for yourself. You're self pitying. Oh, woe is me. Woe is me. And that's not how life is. And I thought, when I get sober, I'll never have fun again. That's the farthest from the truth. That I was amazed at how welcomed I felt when I first came to a meeting. I felt these people understand me. These are people just like me. Because if I tried to tell my story to non-addicts, they would think, my God, that guy's a fucking maniac. I literally wouldn't tell my story to some non-addicts I would, but I have to know them quite well because some of the stuff I've done is I'm not very proud of. Let's put it that way. Um, so what? Don't take the first drink or drug, and you don't have to worry about the rest of them. And sometimes 24 hours at a time might seem too long, but take it 10 minutes at a time. Tell yourself, okay, it's 9 o'clock. I'm not going to use until 9:10. Then when 9:10 gets there, say, oh, well, it's 9:10. I can last another 10 minutes. And then next thing you know, an hour's went by, 2 hours went by, 3 hours went by. Keep yourself occupied. Look for hobbies. And don't be afraid to pick up that 1,000-pound phone. That is your best friend in early sobriety. You should have. This is my opinion. You don't have to listen, but this is my suggestion. Have a list of people that you can call daily, just to keep in touch, just touch base, just as much as, hey, how are you doing? What's up? You know, because you got to hold yourself accountable. You got to have more than just your sponsor, because your sponsor ain't going to be able to answer all the time. So have some other people you trust and you can talk to. That's just a suggestion, but I mean it's not a bad suggestion. It's worth a try. I mean, it can't be any worse than our best thinking led us to here. So maybe listening to someone else for a change might do us a bit of good. Um, and then if the desire to use or drink is really strong, many of us chop the 24 hours down into smaller parts, like I just said. We decide not to drink for, say, at least 1 hour, like I just said. Our version of this is simply postponing the next drink. That makes it a lot more doable than thinking I'm not going to drink forever, because forever is a long time, and I can't make that promise all the time. Am I going to use today? Absolutely not. Can I promise you I'm not going to use tomorrow? I can't. I'm afraid I can't. I would like to tell you I'm not going to. I don't think I will, but I'm an addict, and there's always a chance that I could. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not omniscient. I wish I was. Well, no, I don't wish I was. I wouldn't want to know everything. That would be horrible. So basically, you know, if you're having trouble, break your increments up into smaller increments if you have to. Break that 24 hours up. But I'm telling you, if I can get clean and sober, you can get clean and sober. I've done some things I'm not proud of. I've ate out of trash cans. I sat down with my sponsor once and did a rough estimate on how much money I spent in a 3-year period, and it was a conservative estimate, mind you. And I spent $60,000 in 3 years on heroin alone, and that's a conservative estimate. And I didn't work, so tell me where the fuck did I get that money? Hustling was a big part of it, but you know, drug addicts will find a way to use if they want to get high. It's just the way it is. So I think I'm going to stop right now. The next time I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to read a little bit more about this book, and I also got this. It's a NA version of the AA book I got. It's called Living Clean. Sorry, it's backwards. You know how cameras are, but so I'm going to go into that at some point. So all you Hope Fiends have a wonderful day, and I appreciate all your comments. Thank you so much for my new subscribers. I love you all, and I just want to spread the message and help people and give what was so freely given to me. So please sub and share. You don't have to like it, but help me get a few more subs so I can start to stream and reach more people. Thank you. Have a good day, Hope Fiends. Bye bye.